Before we begin painting, we're going to go into Canva and we're going to select a custom size. And I'm going to do 8 inches by 8 inches because this is what I'm working with. And just make sure you select inch. Whoops. 8 inches by 8 inches. And it will bring us to a new design. Here is where we're going to upload our photo. And I've already done this, but let me show you where you would do that. So you go to Device. Let me do that again. We'll go to Uploads here, Device, and you're just going to select the image that you're going to use, and it's going to upload. As you can see, I've already brought it in a few times. So I'm just going to bring it in here, and this is where we're going to make our adjustments. Anything that I know is not going to be needed, I'm just going to kind of get rid of. I'm thinking we're going to keep this very square. We just want to fill the space because I know for me the most important part is her face and her hair. If you bring it around, it will start to lock in place where the center is, but I'm not liking this very much, so I might even make this a little bigger. This is looking more like what I'm wanting. And I think I'm going to do about right here. I did 8 inches by 8 inches because that is how big my canvas or the paper that I'm working on is going to be. And so this is pretty good. It gives me a little bit of room around the outside that is going to be cut off. Maybe right here. Should move it up just a little bit because we're going to be taping this down, and the tape is going to take off about 1/2 an inch at the bottom or around the outside, so we don't want to get too close to her chin. And I'm feeling like that is pretty good. Once you have this, just keep this as your original image here, and we're going to duplicate it and start working on this one. This way, if you want to go back and you want to make new changes, you have your original image exactly in the place that you want it. In fact, to make it even better, I like to even lock the image in place for this first one so it doesn't move around, nothing really happens with it, and you're feeling pretty good about it. Next, why don't we figure out what colors her skin tone is, maybe her hair, the basic colors that we're seeing in this image. And how I would do that is we're going to go and pick a square shape from our elements. And this really is a refresher of the first part of the lesson that I taught you. So if you didn't watch those beginning lessons, I would highly recommend going back so this all makes sense to you. But what we're going to do is just make a little bit of a swatch so we know which paint colors we're going to need to choose. And I'm just going to copy and paste this here. And I'm just going to make about 4 to begin, possibly 5. Let's just see. I'm going to select the first one. Now we're going to change the color of these rectangles to be the main colors of this image that we're going to have to figure out what we're painting. So let's go up here. Now this one is selected, and I can tell it's selected because it has the circles around the outside. What we're going to want to do is select it, go up here, and Canva has already taken out the main colors of the image for us. And this is looking like her local color of skin tone color. So I'm just going to click that one and put that in my first box. We'll go to the second one, and why don't we do it in order from light to dark for her skin, her hair, any kind of things that you think might be part of the skin or hair. Okay, we have one more color, and this is the color they selected for the shirt. I'm interested in that one too, so I'm just going to copy and paste one more rectangle, and we're going to bring it in. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, it's really hard to match these sometimes if we don't know what the color is that we should be starting from. So again, I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm going to select all, copy, which is Control-C, paste is Control-V, and I am going to, why don't we just move it right on top so we can see exactly what color it is. This time we're going to select it, go up, back into here, and I'm going to bring it all the way up to the corner. And this gives me an idea of what color I can begin with. It's not going to be the exact color because the saturation on your screen is always going to be more vibrant, more saturated than any paint color you can get. But this gives us a little bit of a clue of which direction we should be going with our paint colors to begin with. And we can desaturate them or change the value by adding black, by adding white, or by mixing gray. Okay, so let's move on to the next one and see what we get. Again, we are in the orange family. Look at this. Wow, let's see how about this one? Yeah, this one is almost like a Hansa yellow. We'll have to get that one. So the one that I'm most curious about would be her flesh tone color, her local color flesh tone. So this is the color that I'm gonna want to match. So what you can do, select, go back up here, and here is a hex code, and I'm just gonna copy that. If I go into a new Google thing, I could just copy that in. And yep, here we go. It's going to give us all of our information like we talked about in our previous classes, and the RGB code is the one that we're going to need. 255.119.0. That's pretty easy to remember. So we're going to go into our golden artist, go to numeric, and change it 250. I was already working on something. Let me refresh this. We'll go into numeric, 255.119 and 0, find match. All right, they're giving us a lot. I know that I have cadmium orange, but I really do not want to use all of these for that. So I'm going to come up with something a little bit similar. Let me see what we get if we reduce the colors down, what they come up with. Cadmium orange, titanate, yellow, and I do not have these, so maybe I'll reduce it again. Oh, I do have this one. So this may be a better option. I'm just going to reduce it one more time to see what we get if we reduce it all the way down. Cadmium orange. Okay, so I do have that one, and I do have P1L0 orange as well. So this may be the better bet. Cadmium orange. Okay, so this is good to know. I may just use this one to blend it down. We can do a quick swatch test to see how they mix with other things as well if we need to. Let's go back to our design. This is kind of the neutral color of her hair, I'm assuming. Let's bring this up and see. Yeah, it's kind of like the in-between of all of her highlights and her shadows. It's more of the local color. So why don't we swatch this one as well? We're going to do the same thing just to see what we get. Whoops. We're just going to go back into Google, and this time I'm going to put in a new hex code. 255.100.0. So it's very similar to what we had before. I'm just going to change this one to 100. Find match. All right, we're back to cadmium orange as being our main one. Oh, check that out. So it looks like we can be using both of those oranges. I do not have this yellow, but let me reduce it one more time. That is crazy. Okay, so if we reduce it, the closest one color that they are choosing for us again is cadmium orange. So I think this kind of gives us a good idea of, we could use cadmium orange to kind of mix up all of our colors. Now it's not going to be exactly the way the photograph looks on the screen, and we already knew that that's not possible anyhow. So that is fine with me. It gives me an idea of what we're working with. Okay, let's go back to our first image, the one that has not been messed with at all. We're going to duplicate it. And this time, instead of printing it out as a color copy, what I want to do is desaturate this image. Let's unlock it because it won't let me do anything unless it's unlocked. And that is right up here. Unlock. Now I can select the image, go up to adjust, And here is saturation, and that means if we move it all the way down to the left hand side, it's going to be a black and white grayscale looking photo. So this is the one I'm going to want to print out, because when we begin, we're going to be doing something called an ebauche, and what that is we're going to create all of the tones and values by using cadmium orange. So why don't we do this? We're going to download it as a PDF print, and PDF print is really helpful if you have an image that is larger than an 8x8. For instance, if you're printing on your printer at home, a typical standard United States sheet is 8.5 by 11, so this would fit within that. But if you had a larger image that you wanted printed out, you would have to print it in tiles almost and put them together with a little bit of tape, cut it out, whatever. And by doing a PDF print, it means that you can do that and print it out in tiles in Acrobat Reader, which is free to everybody. Another thing is right here is you have to select which pages you want downloaded. If you don't select which one, it's going to save all of them as a zip file. So just make sure you unclick it and only pick the image that you need. Page 2, done. All right, PDF print, page 2, download. And it even tells me 8" by 8", so that's looking really good. And next I am just going to open up the design. Here it is. Now since I know this is going to fit on my 8.5 by 11, I don't need to do anything else other than print it from the printer that I have already. I have a Brother's printer at home, so I don't need to do any adjustments. But if, like I said, you needed to print this out in multiple tile sheets, you would go to Acrobat Reader and you could download that for free. You would open it on your computer. I'm just going to go to my downloads because that's where it's saved. And when you open it and you go to print, they have options here, size, poster, multiple, and booklet. So if you had a poster, you click on that and it would show you how many pages you would be printing out if it were larger than 8.5 by 11. And since mine is not, I don't need to do anything else. I can just print it as is. So I will do that. Okay, let's get to painting. I'm so excited.